Roman is the biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling.
When's the last time you got laid?
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Hey, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Bro,
like-
less people wanted that than are currently watching our streams.
And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Gisanti, producer boy in the background, and we are back here once again to review tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. We started this episode with Swerve Strickland coming out to the ring to cut an opening promo. Swerve began by hyping up his match with Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door for the AEW World Championship. He's very excited facing Will, calling him and Will two of the best. And he initially says that there will be two killers in that ring before stopping himself and saying that there will actually only be one. Swerve remarks that he has previously saw a killer, an assassin, take out Kenny Omega, Konosuke Takeshita, and Bryan Danielson over the past year. But at Double or Nothing, there wasn't that much of an assassin anymore. However, he respects Will as a fighting champion, as he will be having a match tonight against Fénix, unlike the EVPs, who haven't defended their titles since they have won them. This then prompts the entire elite to come out, with Okada opening up by calling this his house bitch, which I like Okada's gimmick now, is just calling everybody bitch. Nicholas then announces that they've got some business to take care of, some of it involving Swerve. And after running through the number of people they have taken out since they have usurped almost to a degree Tony Khan, including people like Kenny Omega, Darby Allin, and FTR, as all of them are now on the shelf in one way or another, Nicholas declares that they will be having in the near future a blood and guts match because there are still some in the locker room who do not think they are violent enough to hold everybody down in the company. And they are willing to take on any comers in that match. Matthew then hops on the mic and he says that while the Elite and Swerve may have gotten off on the wrong foot, he is wondering if Swerve would like to stand by alongside some winners and be their fifth man in the blood and guts match, even offering Swerve a pair of their brand new Reebok pumps available now. Actually, not really, they're sold out. Swerve says, first of all, he's not a size 9 and hands the shoes to Prince Nana. I would like to thank Spirit Halloween Collector for congratulating us on 102 subscribers. Thank you. Please keep liking and subscribing, people. We appreciate every bit of support we can get. Back to Swerve. Secondly, he comments on Matthew's pearl necklaces, saying nobody wears those anymore. He's right. That was definitely a last year thing. Third, he says he's a businessman who does his own thing. And fourth of all, he is a philanthropist and tells Nana to throw the shoes into the crowd, which he then does. This pisses off the Elite, who very clearly start gearing up to beat the shit out of Swerve, with Matthew saying there's an injury bug going around, and it's just landed on Strickland. They start taking off their jackets. Swerve drops his, and he's prepared to fight. And then this is all interrupted by the Acclaimed's music hitting, and they come to the ring to even up the odds, and the Elite decide to bail out. This then prompts Christopher Daniels to come out to the stage, saying that they do not have time for this brawl, as we have a cat on the screen now. They don't have time for this brawl, despite the fact he would love to watch everybody fight throughout the entire night. They have a packed card, so everyone's got to get out of there, except for Jack Perry, because he will be facing off against Dustin Rhodes in his TNT ladder match qualifier. So we then headed into that match, but let's stick with the promo here first, James. There was obviously two important parts of this. The beginning of Swerve kind of calling out Ospreay, saying he isn't the killer that he once was. And I imagine this is some reference to the fact that Ospreay has been leery of using the Tiger Driver in his most recent matches. And then obviously we have the confrontation with the Elite. Swerve has been butting heads with them for weeks now, it seems, and he has turned down their offer for Blood and Guts, which was later announced for July 27th. So that is
24th, no?
Oh, excuse me. Yes, 24th, July 24th. Thank you. I read 24th. You know what? I'm so used to saying 27th because that's the day on which I was born. Anyway. Right. So Blood and Guts, which A, is before Forbidden Door, I believe. And B, Swerve clearly, right? When's Forbidden Door? Isn't the, it's 20...
June. All right, Forbidden Door is June 30th.
June. Now. Next month is July. I am bad at months. I've always been bad at months. Anyway.
You're great at days, though. You're great at days.
No, I'm bad
Immaculate with weeks. Immaculate.
Those I can do. Anyway, so right. Scratch what I said about it being Forbidden Door. But anyway, it is notable, though, that Swerve declined the invitation to join the Elite in the match. What's up, Navarro? Good to see you. And I think it would lead me to believe that he will be on the side of Team AEW when Blood and Guts does come around. Finally got there.
All right, let's... my bad. So, first of all, we're just continuing the trend with Ospreay, right? A lot of people calling him out on his unwillingness to go the extra mile for the win, even though he hasn't lost yet. Which is just the most ridiculous part of this angle. Not hitting that Tiger Driver on people like in against Roderick at the pay-per-view to win the title. Just unwilling to go and hit that deadly move. I wonder if it's finally going to come into play at the pay-per-view. I wonder, because I personally can't see Ospreay walking out as two-belt bruv. I just can't. So,
despite your lower third,
it's what I would like. It's what I would like, and I love Swerve, but no, I just don't see it happening. So maybe that's it. Maybe his unwillingness to hit the Tiger Driver is what's going to cost him against a vicious and deadly Swerve. So I think, the seeds are planted there as they have been for the last several months since that match with Bryan at the pay-per-view. Going into the second part of it, the stuff with the Elite, I thought that was far more compelling just because he had people to bounce off of. But I got to tell you, we've been calling it. We talked about it weeks ago, if not longer, that we were going to get a Blood and Guts with the Elite, right? We knew that was coming. I did not like how we got there at all.
Yeah.
Blood and Guts is supposed to be a feud-ending match, or at the very least, the climax of a feud, as we've unfortunately seen with AEW in the past. Thank you. Thank you, Danny. I think it's, again, like the trimming right here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want it to ever just be, we're having this match because. It's got to have the right heat to make it justified. And I think so far, every time we've had Blood and Guts, it's been a justified match to have. Maybe not always the right placement in a feud, but it's always been a justifiable match that's earned its existence. We don't even know who they're going to wrestle.
Yeah. We don't even know who their fifth man is.
Which, you don't necessarily need a fifth man.
Right, but
I hate him.
I don't even want to know what he did.
I hate him. But I'm all for this continued Elite Swerve feud. It just continues to make Swerve feel more and more important. Like, I know it's been hard because of how many big stars have signed with Okada, with Ospreay, with Mercedes, with everybody. But they've done everything they can to make Swerve still feel super important. They did it with the countdown clock to when Swerve is going to wrestle tonight, and they would have that countdown clock in the top corner. let's see what Danny's saying. He disagrees with me. Swerve was better before he was bouncing off the Bucks. Well, I'm not saying his promo was better with the Bucks, but what I'm saying is at least it wasn't just talking. There was development in story. So I appreciate that. Ospreay going to get screwed by his crew to lose. So here's the thing.
Nope.
No. Here's the thing. It's possible. Because this is going off of what I've been saying, that Don Callis is the worst manager in professional wrestling. That Ospreay might actually have a chance at winning, but because Callis doesn't like the way he's been wrestling, he's going to screw him out of it. It's actually possible. Stupid, doesn't make sense, but very in line with the Don Callis family motto of, if it's working, let's fix it.
I'll get to how I think that match is going to end in a bit, but
Eric saying it's the only reason they would do this match early. I don't think so. I don't think Will is winning, but I think it was just so the people who are like, why isn't this match happening at All In, can say, well, at least we had this match. Why is Will Ospreay not going for the world title at All In? This is why. So whether or not you agree or disagree with the thought process, that's what it is. Do you think you could fit into a size 9? I can't.
I'm an 11 and I'm 11 and a half.
I'm like a 10 and a half, 11 myself, and it's like
occasionally a 12, depending on, like, because some shoes run narrow, like an Adidas.
Yeah. But I would have still taken the shoe
just to put them on a shelf.
Yeah, right. I think 2 different guys got the shoes. I think they just split it a shoe a piece. I would have done that. It would have been nice to have the set, but I would have done that. So I thought that was cool. The Acclaimed being a part of this, I'm all for it, because God knows they have nothing else to do. Like the Trios division, stay away. I doubt they're going to win next week in the Eliminator, but at least they're involved with a top storyline in AEW against the tag team champions. Sure. All works for me. It's not the only. Danny's saying it's not the only reason they would do it early, Ricky. Okay.
I was going to say that, or assuming, either it's going to be he's referring to Ricochet coming to AEW, or maybe he's referring to Ricky Starks and the fact that they waited on a couple of things for Ricky and it kind of screwed him. And we've seen that happen a couple of times in AEW, where just they waited on things too long and guys ended up getting hurt or imploded backstage or whatever it may be. And we did miss out on some matches we really did want to see. So
I agree to an extent, but you're looking at the end of June to August. If they wanted to have that match at All In, they could have waited 2 months. But I just don't think they want to have that match at All In.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see what match they do have it All In. I imagine both matches are going to be insane, but we'll see. Because I do think personally, for the Ospreay Swerve match, I don't think Callis is going to screw him. What I do think is going to come down to is Will is finally going to lose because he refuses to hit the Tiger Driver.
Oh, Navarro in the comments saying, imagine Ricochet swerves us all.
I'm trying to figure out how, but because so allegedly, according to PWI, Ricochet is still under contract to sometime in July. So
he's no way he'll show up at Forbidden Door.
Yeah, so he's not done yet. They're even thinking maybe they might do like one more thing just to really tie everything off if he's officially not coming back. And if they do re-sign him, then they're in business and they can bring him back in July.
Man,
so
I see. Even going into July, just moving forward, him immediately going against Ospreay makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, I do not want that man as part of the Don Callis family, because I want to care about him. I want to care about whatever Ricochet will be moving forward. And I don't think there is an easier way to get me to stop giving a shit than to have him align with the Don Callis family.
Which is funny, because where I was going was I do think Ospreay is going to lose because he refuses to hit the Tiger Driver, and that finally costs him the match against Swerve. And that is what causes Don to kick him out of the family. And what comes next is really difficult because we've already had Ospreay Takeshita, which was a banger. We've had Ospreay versus Fletcher, which was a banger of a TV match. And I mean, I don't know how much of a shit Trent is going to give, but I'm pretty sure Ospreay could beat Trent. So it's like, who does become the guy in the Don Callis family to step up to Ospreay, presumably at All In? And yeah, the name Ricochet does actually kind of work immediately, but then you were bringing him in as a heel off the jump. So interesting dynamic there.
You might be able to tell better than I would because I'm not super familiar with Lucha Underground. Was Prince Puma a good guy or a bad guy?
In the beginning, he was a good guy. I didn't watch all of it. I only got about halfway through season 1. But I think Dragoon would probably know better than me.
That's
or
true.
Matt for that matter. But in the beginning, he was a face, and he was a fairly naive rookie who was being managed by Conan. So I at the start of it, he was a face. I don't know if he ever turned or not. Yeah, Danny's saying he'll end up under the Learning Tree. Is pretty funny.
I take back what I said. There is a quicker way for me not to give a shit.
But I think Ricochet's also established enough where, and I think a big enough name where, at least when he first comes in, he's not going to be put in something like that. I think he'll be put in more prominent place in the card just to have the flashy matches at the beginning, and then he'll probably dial back to the mid card.
Prince O'Shea.
Yeah, I think he owns Ricochet.
He does because he's wrestled out as it in Japan and elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to combine things. Going back to Navarro in the comments, Navarro wants him in AEW because of the matches he can have, and he thinks he'll have more of an opportunity to be a big deal. He also thinks Ricochet is a big loss for WWE in ring-wise, but luckily WWE are a machine, so they'll be fine. Look, all joking aside, Ricochet is one of the most gifted athletes in WWE. I think he had a ceiling in WWE that he kind of hit a long time ago and kept knocking on. I don't think he was ever going to get any higher than what we've seen him reach. So that's why I'm happy for him to have a change of scenery. I don't know if he'll be a huge deal in AEW, but like you said, the matches he's going to have, the opportunities he's going to have to impress are going to be plentiful. And who knows, depending on how they book him as a heel, because I don't think we've ever had heel Ricochet in WWE.
Not that I can think of.
Maybe a heel turn would do wonders for his personality and his comfortability with the microphone, depending on who they put him with, whether it is a Don Callis or a Jericho. Maybe these are the things that will help him get over. I don't know, but as we've seen, even on tonight's episode of Dynamite, changing not necessarily your alignment, but who you're with, it does wonders for your character. And we'll get into that later when we deal with a new tag team that I called a long time ago. But so Godspeed to Ricochet, and terrible month for the Irish WWE fans.
Yeah, not a great month for us.
Losing Becky Lynch and Rick O'Shea, come on, man.
Yeah, and I don't. Where's Sheamus been? I feel like he hasn't been doing much either.
He got body shamed to the point of just wanting to be away.
Yeah, exactly. So rough month for us. All right, let's move on. So as I mentioned, we had Jack Perry face off against Dustin Rhodes in their qualifying match to get to the TNT Championship ladder match at Forbidden Door. Dustin got busted open real early in this match. I believe he was sent into the ring post, and it's kind of becoming a death taxes and Dustin Rhodes bleeding type of thing with him. But whatever.
But it's funny. I don't roll my eyes at it the way I roll my eyes when Moxley bleeds, just because I know that Dustin's forehead is made of tissue paper at this point.
I feel like Mox's is too, and that's why he's always bleeding. But
See, but all right, like Mox's forehead is like triple ply, 3-ply toilet paper, as opposed to Dustin that's just like single ply.
dollar store.
Yeah.
Fair.
You're better off with nothing.
After that, while Dustin was down, Jack then exposed the concrete underneath the padding and hit a suplex onto Dustin on the outside. Jumping a little bit later in the match, after he made his comeback, Dustin hit the bionic elbow and followed it up with a crossroads, but Perry was able to kick out. Dustin then went for the final reckoning, but Perry countered that and sent Dustin into an exposed turnbuckle. Apparently, that had been exposed earlier in the match. I don't know if it was right at the beginning or during the picture.
No, it was in the beginning. It was pretty early on.
Yeah, they didn't really mention it too, which was weird.
No, so what had happened was Jack was like holding on to it desperately, and Dustin just kept pulling him off of it, and then finally he took it with him. It was a spot. It was a spot.
Yeah, I guess I just had my head down typing. Perry then followed him to the outside, where he DDT'd Dustin once again on the exposed concrete, and he forced the 10 count, which Rhodes was able to beat. Dustin then attempted to get up once he got in the ring using the ropes, and eventually referee Aubrey Edwards to try to steady himself. But when he did, he kind of shoved Aubrey to the side in an attempt to go after Jack. But this allowed Jack to hit the low blow as Edwards wasn't looking, and that sent Dustin to his knees. Perry then lined up for a running knee, which he hit after Dustin flipped him off, and Perry was able to pick up the win with that, qualifying for the TNT Championship ladder match alongside Konosuke Takeshita and Mark Briscoe. So Eric asking, does Perry have the same finisher as Brian? They just called it a running knee, not a Busaiku knee, so I don't know.
I mean, but he's been doing it because he's the one who pinned Brian at Anarchy in the Arena with the running knee. So it's just him mocking Brian. In fact, I actually think Brian will probably beat him
at some point.
Yeah,
but
it's not going to be a title match, so Brian can win.
Yeah, exactly. As for this match, James, I thought it was fine. Nothing spectacular here. Obviously, fuck Jack Perry, but in a good way.
No, it's the comment.
Yeah. Jack was always getting into this match because they tried to give him the title. He was always going to get into the match. I think it also should be noted, and I should have brought this up at the beginning, everyone was barred from ringside. Hence, no elite interference. So,
and Jack, he is now our third member in the ladder match.
Yes, Takeshita and Briscoe have also qualified. So, Jack, good win for him, even though it was dirty, but he's able to qualify for this match, and we move on from there.
Yeah, no, I thought the match was fine. I think I'm glad that they're having Perry wrestle these singles matches. Jesus. I'm glad that they're having Perry wrestle these singles matches because now the AEW audience is getting a chance to see this new character actually work. And it's different than the heel character we got before he got suspended. His ring style is different. This is a little more brutal. Perry was literally rubbing Dustin's blood all over his chest and his forehead, his hair. Like, it's a lot more of a sadistic character than the cowardly character that he was prior to the suspension. So I'm very glad we're finally getting into these singles matches. I don't know if I want him to win the TNT title or not. I'm very on the fence about it. I see the pluses on both sides of the argument. I don't know, but Dustin did well. Dustin still gets a reaction. I love that Dustin still gets a reaction. I really hope he makes it to 2030 so he could tie for the record for most decades wrestled. So
who would that be with?
I think Terry Funk.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I think it's Terry Funk. So yeah, good matchup for both of these guys. It sucks to say, I do love that Taz is right that Dustin hit the low blow on Jack, so Jack hitting the low blow on Dustin, it's just turnabout's fair play.
Technically, Dustin doesn't hit a low blow. He kicks the turnbuckle.
All right. We see that he kicks the turnbuckle. He is 100% supposed to be kicking him in the handbag.
I thought it was he kicked the turnbuckle, so it's technically legal, so that he wouldn't technically get.
No, that's why he had to do the whole bit with the chair, so Aubrey turns around so he could hit the move.
I swear to God, sometimes he just does it and it's legal, and then other times he doesn't and it's not.
We don't talk about those times. We don't talk about that inconsistency. We're shills for the AEW product.
Hey, I guess it depends on the ref.
All right, give me 1 second. Carry it. I'll be right back.
Yeah, because I was just going to say that this match, it was what it was. Jack got into the thing, and that's all we really needed out of it. All right, so let's go on to our next segment, which saw a backstage interview with Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, and Kyle O'Reilly. Renee Paquette starts off by asking both Kyle and Orange how they're going to be able to tag with each other after facing off with each other in a match on Saturday. However, Kyle says that they're both professionals and they'll be good to go and there won't be any problems. Renee then asks Orange about the Trent and Statlander situation, and Orange responds that he thinks he's got a few people here who have got his back, but there's one he knows he has who has his back, and Willow Nightingale reveals herself from behind Orange. Mark Briscoe then went on this like legendary 60-second rant. I'm not even entirely sure what the fuck he said. Something about how they got like a conglomeration and their win, and he was like shouting out Orange and Kyle, and it was amazing and incoherent, and I have no idea what in God's green earth Mark Briscoe said, but it pumped everybody up.
At one point, he said that Kyle O'Reilly was going to kiss him on the mouth.
It was such a great rant. It was beautiful and hype-inducing and incoherent. But after that, he just flips out, runs off. Kyle goes after him, and Orange and Willow hang back, and Orange just goes to Renee. So how you doing? Renee's like, after that, I'm great. She's like, how about you? He goes, I'm okay.
Is that what he said? I thought he said, I'll tell you later.
I thought he said, I'm doing okay.
Okay. I really thought he said, I'll tell you later, which I loved. It's just like, you're just my friend. I just want to talk to you later. We don't got to do this on camera.
I think he said, I'm okay. We'll talk later. I think that's what it was.
Either way, great segment, great backstage. I love Cool Kyle. I have a really bad feeling they're going to have him join the Undisputed Kingdom. We'll talk about it more, but yeah, I have a bit of a tease. Feeling.
Yeah, a bit of a tease for that later. And that is what's called a tease. But moving on after this, we had Roosh against Dion the Iceman Roosman. Obvious jobber match. Roosh destroyed this guy in like 2 minutes. I'm not even sure what, the horns or whatever. He hit his finisher to win in like 2 minutes. The Roosman didn't get a single lick of offense in. Poor guy just got his ass kicked. And the only reason it was 2 minutes was because Roosh allowed it to be, so he could get more offense in.
I will say, though, for a jobber, Roosman has a good look, I think.
Yeah.
I would like to see if he's got anything, because I think he's got a good look, and I will remember you.
I did like his pants because he had the Iceman on the back.
Yeah.
Around like the belt area, and that looked really good. So at minimum, he's got a good tailor. After the match, Roosh ran over to the timekeeper's area to threaten Justin Roberts and grab a mic. And then he returned to the ring, putting his foot on Roosman's neck, declaring him to be like all Americans, weak. And then he starts kicking the shit out of the Iceman. This then prompts MJF to come out. MJF takes his jacket off, sprints to the ring, and the brawl is on.
Holy shit. Was that Glacier?
Eventually, we get some security coming down to the ring, but MJF and Roosh fight them both off, including Roosh landing a really nasty headbutt to one of the guys. And then the two realize that they're finally back one-on-one, and the brawl begins again, and they eventually fight to the crowd, and then all the way backstage, where MJF eventually puts Roosh to a table, which Roosh immediately no-sold, because he got right back up. But that a little bit of delay allowed security and some people from the locker room to come over and eventually pull them apart. MJF versus Roosh was then immediately announced to kick off Dynamite next week without commercial interruption. Shout out the Iceman, James, but this was more about MJF first getting in this brawl with Roosh. look, all it did was set up the match we knew was coming, which is MJF versus Roosh. I'm excited they're getting out of the way pretty quickly here. And I mentioned this the last couple of weeks. I do think this is a good first match back for MJF because Roosh is somebody who is threatening enough and good enough for the ring. Well, this will be good, and it looks like a solid challenger for MJF, but his loss isn't going to affect his standing on the card.
No, I agree with you on that front. I wish they had done anything to sort of build him up more on Dynamite these last few months. He is pretty much just a Collision Rampage guy. It's just me. I know it's just me. I'm just not a Roosh guy. I haven't been for years. I just don't. It's
been well established on the spot.
Yeah, the lore is real. He went through a table and he didn't sell it at all.
Yeah, he got right back up.
I actually for a second got concerned he hit his head on the wall. He just got right back up, man. He didn't it is what it is. I wish they had acknowledged any of their past because they did have a past. I remember MJF paying when
and when MJF they had that promo battle either last week or 2 weeks ago.
Okay, it was probably last week. I wasn't
when Roosh initially called him out. MJF was complimenting. He was like, "I know how much of a badass you are. I paid you off to get rid of Bryan Danielson last year." So
they did. That's on me. That's on me for not being around last week. But I don't know. I'm ready to get past it. I really don't know what MJF does next because maybe they do Swerve versus MJF at All In, maybe, but that's gonna be a bitch to book.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a real bitch to book. So he said, "Rand."
Yeah. Oh, sorry. In the comments, I got it. Eric saying that MJF had brought up fighting a random Japanese guy at Forbidden Door. So I do think he will get some sort of challenger from New Japan at Forbidden Door. We don't know who it is.
That's just because they're not going to be in Long Island and not have MJF wrestle.
Exactly. I'm curious off the top of your head who you could think it'd be. I know. I think it was Takagi had a promo package later in the match, or excuse me, later in the show. I know Naito's fighting Moxley, so he's taken. I don't know if did he fight Tanahashi, or who did MJF fight?
MJF fought Sonata.
Yeah, so maybe he could fight Tanahashi. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting people he could go against. Yeah, but we'll see. True. We'll see who even wants to come to America. That's always the thing. It's who wants to come over here and have a match, and especially if you're going to lose to MJF, you got to find somebody who you have to be willing to have lose. So
Shingo would be a banger if they could do Shingo Takagi versus MJF. That would be an excellent matchup. But yeah, I in the long run, I don't know what's next for him. In the long run, I don't know where you send that character. I feel like it's only a matter of time before he circles back to the world title. But I don't know that I necessarily need to see him win the world title anytime soon. He made quick work of the Undisputed Kingdom, or at least Adam Cole, to the point that who knows if they're ever going to touch that again.
I think they will. I remember reading after Double or Nothing, the reason they did that was Cole wasn't going to be back for a while. So they wanted to give the fans something to hold them over until Cole's able to come back, because they didn't want MJF to come back and have it not be addressed. So that'll come back around when Cole is healthy. You're right. At some point, MJF does have to go for the title again. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Do they want to do him versus Swerve, which I think makes sense at some point because on some level because they had their beef before MJF left, but at the same time, do you want MJF? I think will probably lose either way, depending on who has the title. It's confusing. It's one of those things where I'm glad I don't have to make that decision.
Yeah, and they're also in a rough position too because realistically, he should want revenge against Samoa Joe as well. But Joe's now a babyface and he's doing tag team stuff with Hook, so it's weird to find a launching pad for MJF. But we love the guy, we love the character, so we're gonna be enthralled no matter what. I'm sure they.
Yeah, and also that's what this Roosh match is for. It's just buying them time as they try to, figure out where the MJF puzzle piece goes.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm still trying to figure out where the hell they're gonna reinsert Hangman.
Yeah. Blood and guts.
This tweet saying, I don't give a shit about Roos versus MJF. I'm sorry. I get that. I do get it. But realistically, they needed him to go against somebody. And if they had him go against anybody lower on the card, people were going to complain about that too. And if they immediately put him back in the title scene, people were going to complain about that as well. So it is what it is. And Navarro in the comments saying, he just wants MJF to have the title again. And he has been their best champ since Mox and Omega. Man.
I would agree with that, but he held that title for a long time. And to the point where some of this was the booking, but people were getting kind of fed up with him by the time he left. So I think putting the title right back on him is a risky proposition. I don't think we've had a two-time AEW champion yet, and I don't know who they want that to be.
A two-time AEW champion?
Oh no, I'm a fucking idiot. No, Mox won it like 6 different times. Well, like it was all with all that interim shit. It got so confusing. I keep thinking that they haven't, but yeah, no, Mox did it. But even then, like putting the title right back onto MJF isn't something that AEW has done, where somebody has, outside of the interim title nonsense with Mox and Punk, they haven't had the guy lose the title and then immediately win it back a few months later. So I think it would be a definite change of direction for AEW. I don't give a fuck about what the ratings were when he was the champion, but I do think that he has to challenge in the near future.
No, there is no way.
Yeah, and Navarro asking, isn't MJF the most paid wrestler in terms of salary? It's definitely not $15 million a year, and he does have some merch. So I don't know. I don't know if they put it back on him. It's just not the way Tony books, or at least so far.
Yeah.
So
and look, the key thing too is he's young. You don't want to burn too bright on him too fast. If I'm going to get another like repeat champion, I would love to get Hangman with the title again. From my lips to God's ears, I would love Kenny to get another run as AEW World Champion, this time as a face. I'm not against MJF getting the title again. I just think that there are other things we can explore first. Personally, I'm still super into the concept of MJF reuniting with Wardlow, but I also don't see that happening.
We haven't even seen Wardlow in weeks.
Since the pay-per-view, I think. Yeah.
So,
Eric in the comments, Danny made a good point, though. Punk was probably going to be the devil and win the title. Cole took over and likely was going to win the title in December. There was no plan. There was no way the plan was to do a rematch All In for either of those. There's no way to plan. Wait, there's no way to plan was to do a rematch. I think I know what he's saying. Wait, so you're saying Punk as the devil was going to win the title, and then Cole was going to win the title from Punk? Is that what you're saying? Because
I don't know. I'm going to move on.
I don't know. Like a babyface Cole? I don't know what he was trying to say there.
Yeah, all right. Let me get the train back on the track here and move things along. As next up, we had Orange Cassidy, Cool Kyle O'Reilly, and Mark Briscoe against Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, and Roderick Strong. We had that carny piece of shit, Don Callis, on commentary, and once again being very dodgy about how this alliance between the Kingdom and the family came about, considering that Ospreay had just faced Roderick Strong for the International Championship. We also had Trent at ringside as well. So I will jump towards the end of this match. After Orange Cassidy got in a blind tag off Mark Briscoe, Briscoe hit a tope on Kyle Fletcher and then sent him back in the ring, where Orange was able to hit a diving DDT from the top rope, but Fletcher kicked out of that. Orange then went to the corner to line up for the Orange Punch, but he went in the other team's corner, which allowed Takeshita to come over and grab his feet. And then this led to the match completely breaking down and everybody coming in and hitting signature after signature after signature, et al. Ending with Orange and O'Reilly hitting a dropkick leg sweep high-low onto Fletcher. Cassidy went back up top, but Fletcher was able to meet him there. And as he did so, Mark Briscoe tagged himself in. Orange then reversed what was going to be a superplex into what I think was a DDT onto the top turnbuckle that almost knocked Fletcher out. And then Briscoe came in with the froggy bow. However, Roddy was able to come in and break it up. This led to a bit of chaos on the outside near the apron that distracted the referee. And Takeshita was able to come in and land a huge elbow and then a knee strike onto Briscoe. Fletcher then grabbed Briscoe and hit an absolutely nasty pile driver to pick up the win. After the match, the Don Callis family began attacking both Briscoe and Cassidy, with Fletcher and Takeshita going after Briscoe in the ring and Trent taking out Cassidy on the outside. Meanwhile, the Kingdom kind of cornered Kyle O'Reilly and prevented him from interfering in the beatdown. And Kyle was kind of trapped and couldn't do anything. They didn't lay hands on Kyle, but they're like, no, dude, stay back, stay back. They wouldn't let him get involved.
It was rather funny to watch, actually.
Yeah. Willow Nightingale's music then hit, and this kind of confused Trent as he looked up towards the top of the ramp thinking, what the fuck is she going to do? However, we see Chris Statlander come out throwing Willow's body across the stage as she had beaten her down in the back. Stokely Hathaway then came out following them, saying that the next time Willow gets involved in their business, they won't drag her onto the stage. They'll drag her to the ER. So good stuff out of Stokely there. All right, James, as I attempt to hopefully not lose my contact because I was rubbing my eye.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this match was fun. Obviously, I enjoyed all the chaos in it that you get with six mans. Interesting win here, I thought. You had the Ring of Honor TV champion pin the Ring of Honor world champion.
Yep.
Which is a little spicy if you were a Ring of Honor fan. So as much as I enjoyed the match, it's one of those, a lot of the matches have the right person won here thing. I'm curious to know what you think because I'm a little on the fence about this. I don't hate the fact that the heels won this match, but I didn't really know what the play was here. So I'm okay with the outcome, but I'm curious your thoughts on it.
I'm okay with all of it. I, too, kind of raised an eyebrow to the TV champion beating the world champion. But a couple of factors here. One, this is a six-man tag. You okay?
Yeah.
This was a six-man tag. These are the types of losses that guys can get pinned, and it's still relatively protected overall.
Especially because Takeshita involved. It wasn't just Fletcher beating clean.
Yeah. I mean, look at
clean.
Look at WrestleMania this year. They had Cody take the pin night one, and then win the world championship on the second night. So tag matches are a completely different level of protection. Beyond that, I do think Fletcher getting an ROH world title shot sooner than later is probably a good idea. Just because he is one of their more over acts and he is one of their better performers. So let him do it. Let him get the win against Mark now, and then Mark could get the win back in a title defense. Let's see. Or maybe they decide to unify the world title and the TV title. As we're all I'm not all about unification the way a lot of people are. We know that. The Ring of Honor does have a certain set of titles. They do have the world title, the TV title, the pure title. No, I know why you're doing this. You're trying to clip me, and it's about unification, so I don't need to be clipped. The world title, the TV title, the pure title, the tag title, the women's title, the women's mid-card title, and
they have a women's mid-card title now?
Yeah.
What's is it another TV title?
I don't remember what the name of it. I think it is the women's TV title.
Oh, cool.
So maybe they do want to cut back a little bit. Maybe. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but maybe that is the way to go. Either way, not the worst in terms of booking. Obviously, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of just how much happened after the match. Orange continuing to get beaten down. And I want to talk about him going into Forbidden Door real quick. But Orange continuing to get beaten down. Kyle O'Reilly being held back by the Undisputed Kingdom in a non-violent way. And look, Roddy and Kyle already had that matchup. People, like, they tried, he said no, and they took it personally. I don't know if they're going to go down that road again. Maybe Kyle realizes he's had a lot of opportunities on his own, and he's lost all of them. He lost for the TNT title. He lost the qualifier for the the international title. He's just losing. So maybe he does realize if he can't beat him, join him.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw on his graphic that he's 10-11 in AEW since joining.
That's pretty 50-50.
Yeah. And now I guess that this would be 10-12 if you know, counting this overall.
Maybe it's time for him to rejoin the crew, which on one hand is kind of sad, but on the other hand, I think Kyle is always at his best when he's got buddies around him.
And these are some of his best, his best buddies.
And if Wardlow is gone or just not around, and Adam Cole is going to be gone for a little bit longer, that group does need the numbers. So maybe that is the way to go. And
you could even have it if Kyle joins and then Cole comes back. It's like, wait, we fucking let Kyle in? Yeah. Oh, Kyle and I had some serious. Although I guess last time Kyle was in AEW, him and Cole were cool. So yeah. That's good. Cole got resurrected. He forgot all the stuff that happened in WWE.
Somewhere, Bobby Fish is just crying in a cup chair. But there was just so much that happened, so much that is going to come out of this matchup that I think everything played out the way it needed to. Going back to Orange and Forbidden Door, Orange will be facing Zack Sabre Jr. at Forbidden Door. And I know I am too. This isn't the first time they've crossed paths because I think they were in the Fatal 4-Way last year.
Yeah, I remember them having some sort of match together. So
I know a lot of New Japan fans aren't. A lot of New Japan fans are very concerned that Orange is going to beat their guy. And I like Sabre a lot. Quite frankly, he probably deserves the win a little bit more than Orange, which pains me to say. But I know it's been a hot button issue for the New Japan fans.
I think the loss for Orange there also works too.
I do too.
Considering where he's at right now.
I do too. And let's not forget, in the first Forbidden Door, it was Orange versus Ospreay, and Orange lost that match as well. So, New Japan fans, it's going to be okay. It'll be all right. Just enjoy the match. It's going to be fun. Let's see if he can make Orange tap out with his hands in his pockets. It'll be interesting.
That would be kind of funny.
It would be. So, everybody just relax.
I did want to double back really quick for when Orange was talking to Renee. Danny said that Orange said he's not so good. So
I mean that tracks, honestly. Yeah. That tracks. So feel better, Orange. Okay. Hello. Hi, everybody. Orange Cassidy. Even if he does beat your guy in New Japan, it'll be okay. Oh.
That is 2 weeks in a row I've gotten randomly kicked out of this thing.
I'll be honest. I thought that was Producer Boy messing with me again. So I was riffing.
No, I had no idea what happened.
Okay.
I clicked the comment close and it just kicked me out.
That's really funny.
That's weird. All right, let's get things back on track here and move on. After this match, we had a quick Shingo Takagi video package. So he's coming to Forbidden Door. We don't know what content, but that should be cool. We then got a couple of announcements backstage from one Christopher Daniels. He announced that both Kazuchika Okada and the Young Bucks will be forced to wrestle in eliminator matches next week, according to decree by Tony Khan. All seconds will be banned from ringside at these matches. The Young Bucks were later announced to be facing the Acclaimed. I didn't see an Okada match announced.
I didn't either. I missed it too, if anything.
Okay, so if we did miss it, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, his opponent is TBD.
Billy Gunn.
It would make sense and it would be funny.
Please.
After that,
please, I've been asking for weeks. Please give it to me.
After that, we came up to our next match, which was Samoa Joe and Hook versus the Premier Athletes. This actually started in an interesting way because we started backstage with Joe and Hook being taped by Shibata, who inexplicably keeps finding cameras. And every time Joe asks him where he finds them, Shibata goes,
"Don't worry about it."
Yeah, he uses the iPhone to say, "Don't worry about it." But while they're going up towards the curtain, Joe is just fucking around with Hook, being like, "Yo, why does your dad love orange so much?" My guess is because he's from up by Syracuse, and that's why he loves orange. And then Hook looks at him and goes, "My dad hates Syracuse." So Joe's like, "Whatever, dude." And he hits Hook, and they go through the curtain as the Premier Athletes are going through their entrance, and they just jump them and kick the shit out of them all the way down to the ring. I should note, this match came about, they showed this earlier in the show. Obviously, last week, the Premier Athletes came up to Joe and Hook during their backstage interview, and Tony Nese knocked the chips out of Hook's hand, and Hook wanted to beat the fuck out of him, but Joe told him, "We'll do it on our own time." And then on Collision, they kicked their ass in the locker room, and that is what led to this match. And that's the first time we saw Shibata with the camera, which was funny. Anyway, as they head towards the ring, the match starts, and Hook is actually quickly overpowered by Nese and Daivari, and he is actually on the back foot there for a bit. However, that all changed when Smart Mark Sterling attempted to interfere, and Shibata decided to just kick his fucking head off. They missed it entirely, but just by the thud and the reaction of Shivani and Taz, you knew how hard Shibata kicked him. He just absolutely, like a shotgun to the head, knocked him on his ass. That distraction allowed Joe to get his hands on Tony Nese because Nese wandered too close to Joe's corner. So Joe locked in a coquina clutch from the apron. And as that was going on, Hook was able to counter a hammerlock lariat from Daivari, ducking that and then getting Davari's back and putting him in the red rum, forcing him to tap out. Outside of the ring, Sterling tried to get inside to save his guys, but since they were both being choked out, Shibata decided to join the fun, and he choked out Smart Mark Sterling as well. And then the three of them celebrated. So, as Excalibur mentioned, it looks like we might be seeing the formation of a new trio. And James, I believe you had that.
Get me a lottery ticket. I'll lose there, but I was right here. I was right. I called it. It's the right move. It's a little sillier than I imagined it would be, but I think that's okay because I think it would have been just too predictable to have these guys just be straight up serious killers. They still are. They're still choking guys out. Guys who aren't even in the match. Guys who aren't even part of the match are getting choked out.
Well, so, if you make yourself part of the match, you become fair game.
You know what? That's fair. But point being, I'm very glad we're getting what we're getting. I'm very interested to see the dynamics, if we're going to get a true trio, if we're going to get a tag and a singles. I don't know. Either way, I'm all for it. Joe looks like he's having fun.
Yeah.
Joe looked like he was like dancing on the ramp when Shibata had the camera on him. He was calling people oos. Man was just having a good time. So I'm all for it. Like legit, this is probably the best thing these three guys can be doing right now.
I mean, I love Smo. What am I fucking 33 and a 3% chance of winning. I did love Samoa Joe though in the beginning, just kind of screwing with Hook, like, yo, like tell me, like I need to know more about your dad. You gotta tell me. And like Hook is just not telling him. Yeah, but that's how you fuck with like younger kids like that.
And it's hilarious too because Joe knows Taz very, very well. So he probably already knows the answer to all of these things.
Yeah, but it's just funnier that he does it.
No, but that's what I do love about it. Like it's like you said, he's probably just screwing with Hook. And I do love it. I was a fan of the Taz Samoa Joe connection in TNA years ago. So I love it. I love now we're getting the sequel. I love that we're getting the next generation version of this. So I'm all for it, and just keep it going. I hope gold is around these three men's waist very soon.
Yeah, whether that's in the form of the tag titles, which might be a little difficult because they're otherwise occupado, or I think more likely the trios championships. I do think they'll have some sort of title real soon. Or, James, you've been saying that Samoa Joe should get back the FTW title before Hook eventually takes it off of him.
It does feel like we're very far removed from whatever that feud was.
True, but I think we get back there at a certain point.
I do too. The numbers are there. Jericho has 3 on his side. Joe, Hook, Shibata, 3 on that side. I think we can. I think we will. But as of right now, it just feels so separate.
Yeah, which I kind of like, where if we start at one point, have the establishment of these two groups, let them do their own thing, get us, more established within AEW, whether or not, either of them pick up some more gold, whatever. And we eventually then circle back around to what was the impetus of this whole thing, being Hook just running, headlong into Jericho, trying to punch his way through everything and trying to get that title back, and taking what he has learned from Samoa Joe and getting the title back. Or whether it's Joe getting the title off of Jericho or Hook getting it straight off of him or getting it off of Joe. Either way works for me, and I do think we get there, a few months down the line. I think they should take their time with it. So,
yeah, I'm all for it.
Some good stuff. All right.
I just want to say real quick, we have a good amount of viewers with us tonight so far. Thank you for being here. If you're a first-timer, thanks for checking us out. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. That way you can check us out every week, multiple days a week, as we cover all the wrestling that the world has to provide. And if you're a regular, thank you for always checking in with us. We love having you here. Someone like Hunter Iggy, who in the comments is saying he doesn't think WWE will pay MJF 8 to 10 from now to get him to WWE.
8 to 10 years from now.
8 to 10 years. I saw that on the next comment. Who knows? Who knows how hot MJF will be by the time the next round of negotiations go? I hope he's an AEW lifer, personally.
So do I. And if he does ever end up in WWE, he's going to have to wear some really high socks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if you're gonna tattoo a company onto your ankle there, or your lower calf, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, thank you guys for being here, and of course, please like and subscribe. We appreciate it, and you.
Yep. All right, moving on. Next up, we had another promo package for Stephanie Fakar. She's going to face off against Mercedes Moné in a title match at Forbidden Door. And then we had Mercedes Moné against Zeuxis. She is of CMLL. I've never seen her before. I like what I fucking saw.
Yeah, she was awesome. She really killed it in this matchup.
Yeah, I think Excalibur mentioned early she was a very heavy hitter, and holy shit, she was. Not only she had a good match, I thought she killed Mercedes on that Tope Suicida.
Yeah.
Like, that looked like fucking Sean Taylor spearing somebody across the middle. Like, she fucking nailed Mercedes.
It was pretty awesome.
Just to jump ahead towards the end of this match, Mercedes landed 2 double knee strikes in the corner, one standing, and then one when Zeuxis was on the floor. And that got her up and allowed Mercedes to go up top and hit a Meteora, but Zeuxis was able to kick out of that. Mercedes then went for the 3 Amigos, shout out Eddie Guerrero, but Zeuxis countered the third one, eventually getting Mercedes up with a double underhooks and turning that into a lung blower that Mercedes was able to kick out of. Zeuxis then went up to the top rope, and I believe she went for a crossbody. I forgot to write down what it was, so I guessed crossbody. Whatever it was, Mercedes was able to dodge it, and that left Zeuxis out in the middle of the ring. Mercedes then charged out of the corner at her, and while Zeuxis tried to get her up, Mercedes was able to float over. They went back to back. Mercedes hooked her and hit the Moné Maker for the win and retention of her TBS championship, because this was a title match, and I forgot to mention that.
That's sure that her match against the car will still be title for title.
Yeah, and I think they mentioned Vakar has a title match coming up for the New Japan Strong title, so she's got to do her part, as they mentioned, but at minimum, the TBS championship will be on the line. But James, only Mercedes' third match back, as they mentioned, since her injury. She continues to look better and better. And something I noticed, and maybe it was just because she was fighting somebody from CMLL, but I feel like with, outside the restrictions of WWE in the ring, Mercedes has seemingly integrated a lot more lucha libre into her moveset. She's always used quite a bit of it. Obviously, they always say she's a huge fan of Eddie Guerrero, and she's used some of it, but I feel like she's now had the freedom to use more of it, and I think we saw a lot of that tonight.
No, I'd agree. I think she's getting a lot more comfortable, a lot more at home back in the ring. And one of the things to remember is before she did get hurt and she was getting ready to make a long tenure in Japan, she was doing a lot of training, a lot of international training. She was working at the Japanese dojos for where the Zeuxis train in Japan. I think she did get some Mexican training in, some lucha training in. So I think she did everything she could to just up her game. And I think we're seeing that. And one of the things, and I know commentary pointed it out too, after such a long time away from the ring, it does take a little while to find your groove again. And I think we're getting that with Mercedes right now. I think she is finding her groove again. And I'm very excited to see it. I do contend this Forbidden Door timing was unfortunate for her because I think she should be a heel right now. I really do think she should be a heel right now. And I think the feud with Willow was pointing towards her being a heel. And then because of this Forbidden Door matchup against an opponent that most American audience members are not familiar with, they needed her to be a face for this. So, God willing, she turns heel right after Forbidden Door as a two. I'm banking on the idea that she's gonna be Mercedes. I don't have anything for two belts here.
I forgot what belt is in Espanol. I don't. It's whatever.
Either way, I think Mercedes is going to be holding two championships, and I think that's probably going to feed into her ego a little bit, and that's where we probably get the heel turn officially, because that's what I think that's the number one thing I miss about her character right now. Her ring work as a heel is phenomenal. She knows how to play to the audience. She knows how to work a heel style very well. And I think her current style of wrestling will still support that. So great work from both of these women tonight. Great work. Zeuxis was her. I was having trouble because even commentary was having a little bit of trouble with her name. I hope to see more of her in the future. I think she absolutely wowed us all today with her appearance in AEW. And just excellent showing from these two women in this title match.
Yeah, as you said, I love Zeuxis tonight. I thought she was great. First time seeing her, and I agree with you. I hope we see more. And yeah, I think that was very smart by Mercedes going around to a couple of different places and getting some training in, because for the most part, she was, a WWE person through and through from the Performance Center all the way on up. And there's a little bit of a variation of styles there, but for the most part, everyone just calls it the WWE style because they want things done a certain way to present their product a certain way, as opposed to out on the indies and out on and in other bigger companies, you can pretty much do whatever the fuck you want. You can wrestle how you want to get in whatever which way you want, and sometimes that leads to matches where people aren't used to wrestling that style, and styles make fights, and sometimes they're not good, but sometimes they're great. And going around and introducing herself or reintroducing herself to all these different styles, I think allowed her to not only up her game but be prepared for coming into places like New Japan, like AEW, where she's going to face a mismatch of different styles and different people, and she won't look lost out there, which she clearly does not.
Absolutely. Well said.
What were you going to say when I...
No, I was going to say that Mercedes did have some indie experience prior to WWE.
Right, she was House of Glory, wasn't she? Or am I tripping?
I don't know. I think so. I think at the very least, I think she's appeared there. But more than anything, it was just a matter of she became that WWE superstar. She was still one of the better workers because of just her talent and the quality of matches she was allowed to have. but she did definitely fit the WWE mold, and it's always exciting when you see people break out of that mold.
Yeah, and not only break out of it, but I think be able to add on to it as well, because
absolutely.
obviously, WWE style is a certain way, but that doesn't preclude people from being bad wrestlers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's just now you're just adding more stuff to your game, and it makes you that much better.
Absolutely.
Sticking with the women, we then had a Mina Shirakawa promo package. I love this. Bonk. But also, too, I think it's important to point out a lot of Mariah in this promo package. Part of that is, I thought, to help carry the English. Although Mina's is pretty good. But it also not only helped us introduce Mina to the world, or at least to AEW's world, but introduce why Mariah and Mina are such good friends with each other. So I thought it was a very good video package. That was immediately followed up with a backstage interview with Timeless Tony Storm, Mariah, and Luther. And we actually started out, and I thought this was a good shot of Mariah being held to Tony Storm, and it was zoomed in on her and then zoomed out to everybody else. So good piece of camera work there, just something I noticed. Anyway, Renee began by asking about Mariah's friendship with Mina, but before Tony could say anything, Mariah interrupts, thanking first off Tony for entering her into the Owen Hart tournament, and she promises to not let her down. So another entrance on the women's side there. Very excited for that. Mariah can fucking go.
Yep.
Mariah also then tells Tony that Mina will be back in the United States next week, and she wants to do a contract signing. But Tony doesn't have to worry. Mariah will host it and handle everything and make sure everyone is on the same page. Renee then breaks to Tony that she'll be having a match on, I believe it was Rampage, which annoyed Tony because everyone wants to shot at her, but Chin, Tetsu, and she'll prepare, and she stormed off. So
I love this variation of Chin Tetsu. Persisted, persevered. It was just great.
Was it prevailed? I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said it so fast I didn't catch all of it, but I did like the side eye Luther gave Renee as they left. It was just like, he's like, I don't fucking know what's going on here anymore.
I just get paid.
Yeah. But I thought it was interesting, though, that Mariah cut Tony off before she could say anything about what she thinks about Mariah and Mina. So we still don't know what Tony thinks.
Unfortunately, I think the end is near for this grouping. I think, I'm right with
I'm trying not to smile just because this whole thing makes me smile, but I'm gonna be sad about it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna happen after Forbidden Door or a little after, but I think we're closer to the end than we are to the beginning at this point.
Sad.
Yeah, but great stuff from these two women, and Mina's promo package was great as well. So
again, bonk.
But it was legitimately good. Like I get who this character is. I get who this character is a lot more than I know who Stephanie Vacar is.
Yeah, and her promo package wasn't that bad, but it was pretty much just calling out Mercedes the way Mercedes called her out last week.
Yeah.
I think you probably learned more about Vacar last week when Mercedes was talking about her than you did from Vacar herself this week. This was Mina and Mariah not only explaining who Mina is, but explaining their history and their championship-rich history as well. So you not only built up Mina as a credible contender, but you explained all their backstory in 45 seconds. Very well done between both those segments. We then went to TV time with the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, who had special guest private party. So Big Bill introduced everybody to Jericho, who came out and thanked everyone for buying his new Learning Tree T-shirt.
Came out with your boy.
Yep, Bounty Hunter Brian Keith. Anyway, Jericho thanked everybody for buying his new Learning Tree T-shirt, now available at AEWshop.com.
As of 15 minutes before.
Yeah, and it apparently had already sold out, which it didn't. Jericho then brings up that he had some corn backstage. They were in Des Moines, Iowa, so obviously corn. But Jericho says it was a little bit too ripe. And as someone who knows a thing or two about farming, You want to grow corn in well-fertilized soil with a certain pH balance, and the pH balance there was a little bit too high. So everyone should fertilize their soil a bit more with compost if they want better corn. Jericho then introduced. I like I'm giving you a headache with that. Jericho then introduces Private Party as they come down to the ring. He jokes that if they're going to do shots, they need a designated driver, which Zay and Quen just roll their eyes at. Jericho then brings up how good the duo have been and how great their high flying is. But what he has noticed is that they don't have too many wins. And that's because their fundamentals aren't sound. As someone who trained with Stu Hart in the dungeon, they don't have down basic things like headlocks or even climbing to the top rope in the proper way. Zay asked Jericho to demonstrate that for them, calling him an OG of the game and even calling him the Caitlin Clark of wrestling, which is ridiculous. I mean, he would be the Diana Taurasi of wrestling, if anything. Caitlin Clark's
it's not topical. Caitlin Clark is topical. That's
I know, but just if you're gonna get your references right, get your references right. Anyway, Jericho decides to oblige. He shows them how to climb the top rope, first getting your left foot in, and then he goes all the way to the top. And he was like, "All right, have you learned something from the learning tree?" And Quen's like, "Yeah, we have. Now here's a lesson for you." And they shove him off, and he lands nuts first onto the turnbuckle. Big Bill and Keith then get involved, and they try to go after Private Party. However, they're both sent to the outside, and Private Party hits stereo tope suicidas, knocking them both down. Zay then climbs to the top rope because Jericho has fallen off, and he hits a swanton. And Quen follows him up there and then hits a shooting star. I think it was a shooting star or 450. Pretty sure it was a shooting star.
I think it was a shooting star.
And just completely leaves Jericho lying as they exit through the crowd. So I was pretty close with my prediction last week. I know you weren't here, James, but I said that this was going to be a turning point for the character of Chris Jericho because I thought he was going to snap on Zay and Quen for being ungrateful for the fact that he was trying to impart some knowledge upon them. And I was close. We got something of the sort because Zay and Quen were disrespectful by, nutting him and then hitting him with multiple high-flying maneuvers. But it was just Keith and Big Bill that got physical with them, and it was them that attacked Jericho. Jericho was not the one who turned on Private Party. So I think this is a step in the right direction because it's going to introduce a little bit of conflict for the learning tree as he's trying to teach people and they have gone and turned on him. But look, this is a very polarizing character. We love Jericho this way, and I thought this was great tonight. But I'm sure a lot of people are going to hate it.
Yes, absolutely. I won't lie to you. I paid attention to all of it. I was annoyed at the right parts that I was supposed to be annoyed at. I was hyped for the parts that I was supposed to be hyped for. But the one thing that really caught my ear was, I don't know who trained you. And all I kept thinking was, oh my God, are they going to bring Amazing Red onto AEW TV?
That or, Matt Hardy's probably going back to WWE, or at least that's the rumor. Because
he's already in TNA, so.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I forgot. I knew he ended up somewhere. Because I mean that's the guy. Not that he trained them, but he was their mentor for 2 years.
Yeah,
so.
Matt. Yeah. But I'm really hoping this leads to Amazing Red making an appearance because twice Jericho referenced, "I don't know who trained you, whoever trained you," and I would love that. I would love that to see Amazing Red on AEW TV, especially because he's been a lot more active in the ring this year. Beyond that, I thought this served its role well. I thought this served its purpose very well. I agree with you. The descent of Jericho, the cracks are forming. The cracks are starting to pop up. So let's see. Yeah, man. Even Big Bill is sort of doing really well with this annoying ass character.
He's like shitty motivational pitchman, and it's been great. Like the guy who's definitely drinking the Kool-Aid.
It's never too late to learn, and it's never too early to win. Am I right? Oh, God, it was terrible in the best way. So I Yeah, no, I'm all for it. And let's see. Even Brian Keith being like, listen to Jericho if you want your fertilizer to be better. Like, what a ridiculous line. What a ridiculous bit. But they're all committing to it. So I'm all for this comedy stuff if people commit to the bit, and everyone's doing their part so far. So
I forgot when Jericho said the corn was too sweet. He said that doesn't work for me, brother.
yeah. Oh, that was fantastic. That was just, again, he's leaning into it beautifully. He even said that one more. He even said early on, like, you know, I love more TV time, don't you guys? You know, I want that TV time. And I'm like, oh, God.
He's leaning into everything message boards, trolls, and whether that's, you know, people on Reddit or on Twitter or whatever, he's leaning into everything they use to make fun of him. And it's brilliant. I said this, you know, when he started doing this, he's not only steered into the skid, he is completely just owned that skid now. And he's driving back, you know, driving the car back straight.
See, I agree with you. I do. But you got to be careful not to push too heavily into it. You have to be careful not to turn too far into that skid. And so far, I think they're fine. But,
yeah,
man, it's awful in the best way.
And this is something I discussed with Matt last week, which is why I thought this was such an important segment. We got part of the way there. We need that crumble, you know, breakdown of the learning tree. We need him to start showing a more vicious side, because it can't just be, you know, evil Richard Simmons every week.
Yeah.
You know, he's got to start doing some more healer stuff. So hopefully this is that turning point and he starts snapping on people a little bit more, and it's not just this, you know, clearly delusional motivational speaker.
Yeah. No, I agree. Nuance, even with Jericho, can be a good thing.
Yep. All right. After that, I think we came back from commercial with a Jon Moxley Naito promo package. Obviously, that is going to be at Forbidden Door for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Should be pretty cool. And then we went backstage with the Bang Bang Gang, or at least some of them. It was a card switch, the Ass Boys and Juice. They went and called out House of Black, saying they haven't been around since for a while, because the House of Black been talking shit about getting the titles back. So they challenged them to a match on Collision. Juice is a madman. We then went to Daniel Garcia versus Nick Comoroto, who I hadn't seen in a long time. Nice to see him, I guess.
He looks so different now with this new look and new gimmick and new everything.
Yeah.
He's been cutting his teeth in Ring of Honor.
Okay, cool. I guess that's why I haven't seen him. You know, obviously he was with QT for a long time, and ever since that all fell apart, I ain't seen him since. So I'm glad he's doing well down there. But he didn't do too well tonight, because Garcia kicked his ass real quick. Garcia got in a guillotine and then used that to drop a DDT, and he picked up the win. During the match, though, as quick as it was, we actually saw two people watching backstage, both Will Ospreay, whose match was up next, and who Daniel Garcia has been gunning for, as he has declared he wants to go for the International Championship. And we also saw MJF watching, and he had his hand wrapped and covered in ice, which I thought was fairly notable. But this was a 2-second thing.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna get a string of these Daniel Garcia matches where he rises right through the ranks and goes after Ospreay at some point. But you got to start somewhere, and this is where we started.
No, absolutely. I'll be honest. I had to go back and rewind because I walked away for a second during the entrance, and I thought I would have time. And when I came back, the match was over. So I had to go back to make sure I saw it. I'm all for a Garcia push. I think the kid has worked on everything that he needs to work on. And if a mid-card title is in his grasp, I'm going to be rooting for him.
Yeah, so am I. I like Daniel Garcia. You know, and I've enjoyed watching his evolution from, you know, young kid who's just really good technically, and he had that great series of matches with Yuta, and then went through everything with the Jericho Appreciation Society, and now he's back out on his own. You know, he got the dance and everything, and it's been really cool watching, you know, him grow and evolve, and him getting a singles push up to a at least a title challenge. We'll see if he actually gets the title, but getting that push is going to be a lot of fun to watch, I think.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. He's, like I said, in my opinion, he's earned it.
Yeah, I agree. We then quickly went backstage after that win by Garcia to Renee interviewing Will Ospreay. Renee asked him how his body's holding up, considering he has all these contenders for the international championship. He just watched Garcia, who's gunning for him. He's got Rey Fénix in a couple of minutes. And then he's obviously got his match with Swerve at Forbidden Door. Ospreay says his body's doing great. It's not going to be a problem for the AEW title match in a couple of weeks. And while he'd love to talk about how good Garcia is looking, he's got a match to prepare for and a contract to deliver, revealing the contract that Swerve had mailed him a few weeks ago for Forbidden Door. We then went to commercial and came back to a backstage promo from Pac. Pac says he's been humiliated by his poor return to AEW, with all of his losses making him look more like a bitch than a bastard. But he's angry now, and he's at his best when he's angry. So he's going to enter the Owen Hart Cup. He's going to win the Owen Hart Cup because he will be damned if a talent of his caliber doesn't get his Wembley moment or win the AEW championship. He then briefly touches upon the Bang Bang Gang, telling them that Death Triangle hasn't forgotten what they did to him because Death Triangle never forgets. So I'm really excited for Pac to be in the Owen. I think he's a great candidate for this tournament.
No, I agree. Again, tournaments kind of protect you from losses. It's a weird, it's a weird dynamic that's hard to explain, but losing in a tournament is different than just taking a normal loss on a Wednesday. So I'm okay with him being in it, looking good, and then losing at some point. Just because I don't see him going for the world title at all in,
I mean, if you wanted to put the British guy in the all-in title match,
I agree, but no, I don't think it's necessary. If you want to go with the British guy, you go with Ospreay.
Yeah. Yes, but I also feel like then you have to crown Ospreay.
Oh, and I agree. So, look, last year's main event was MJF versus Adam Cole. I think that's fine. I don't think the British are clamoring for a British guy in the main event.
No, but there's certain people you have to book. Obviously, Ospreay being one of them.
Book, yes.
Yeah.
But not
just
main
wait
event.
Yeah.
I love Pac, but no, I don't see Pac versus Swerve being the main event of All In.
I guess you're right. I mean, it can main event something, but maybe not All In.
It would be a great Dynamite main event. It would be a great mid-tier pay-per-view main event. And I love Pac. It's just he hasn't been that hot in a long enough time to warrant him main eventing their WrestleMania.
Yeah, I guess it's true.
And I like him. I really do. So it sucks to say something like that. But the Pac we have today is not the Pac we had from year one of AEW or even year two of AEW. So we got to deal with those realities.
Yeah, he was main eventing pay-per-views.
Exactly. So
with Kenny Omega and Orange Cassidy.
Such a great match.
Forgotten match.
The Kenny Pac matches in general were great. That triple threat was great. Yeah, no, he deserves it. It's just he's just not there right now. But I'm very interested to see how this Owen is starting to look, because so far we have Brian in it, we have Pac in it. Do we have anybody else in it?
Off the top of my head, on the men's side, not that I can think of.
Yeah.
They haven't really shown anybody, at least not on Dynamite. A couple of people declared. On the women's side, obviously, we have Mariah and I think...
Oh, Shingo Takagi declared for the Owen Cup tonight.
Oh, that's what the promo package was for, right? Shingo declared. Okay, so he's not just going to be a Forbidden Door. I forgot about that. I should have wrote that down. That's my fault. So Shingo's in it. So that's a pretty good lineup so far.
Yeah, and I think I'm excited for this Owen. I think we're getting some true top tier talent in this Owen. And
I like that they put some fucking stakes on it too.
yeah,
Like
exactly. No, absolutely.
not that winning the prestige of honoring Owen Hart wasn't, important, but like putting some stakes and getting a shot at the AEW World Championship.
No, I completely agree.
It makes it that much more important.
It justifies the existence of another tournament in AEW,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit the main event here as we saw Will Ospreay face off against Fénix for the AEW International Championship. For the match, Ospreay went up to Swerve and Prince Nana at ringside and handed Swerve that signed contract that was mailed to him a couple of weeks ago. Nana is the one who ended up taking it because Tony Stark doesn't like to be handed things, but Will still handed it over, and there was a bit of a stare down. Jumping towards the end of this match, after countering an Oz cutter, Fénix went for a back elbow on Ospreay as he came off the ropes, but Ospreay was able to go for and then hit a second Oz cutter that Fénix kicked out of. Ray then countered a hidden blade with a spike Rana, which was this whole match was wild. I'm not even going to use that.
No, it really was.
That first 30 seconds was bananas. But Ospreay kicked out of that Rana, and then Fénix sent him into the corner. Fénix came leaping into said corner, but somehow Ospreay recovered and just picked him out of midair with the fucking Oz cutter. I have no idea how that happened. That was a car crash in the middle of the ring, but it sent Fénix down hard to the mat. Ospreay then went up top and stared down Swerve Strickland, saying, "This is my house," before hitting a swerve stomp, using his momentum to go to the other corner, lining up for, and then hitting another hidden blade, putting Ray down for the 3 and the win. After the match, Strickland came into the ring, and the two had a bit of a stare down, and Swerve started kind of yelling at Will because it was loud, but it started a bit lower than he really started screaming at him towards the end. That he thought Will thinks this is a game, and he's still acting like a kid when this title, the AEW World Championship, can change his life. But he's not strong enough to carry both worlds, and Swerve keeps repeating this as he repeatedly shoves the title into Will's chest. Swerve then turns to leave, but he has the title down by his side, and Will just swiftly and deftly takes it right out of his hands and holds it, eventually putting both titles on his shoulders, saying to Swerve, "It looks like he can carry both worlds." Swerve's music hits, and as he takes his title back, and he gets right up into Ospreay's ear, saying he's lucky they're still friends, because if anybody else did that, he'd put them in the grave. All right, so this was a great closing segment in its totality. Like I said, James, this match was awesome. Excalibur made reference to their match at PWG a long time ago. I think it was at Bola, I think he said. And he was like, this is just as crazy now as it was then, but it's even better because these two are better. Look, these guys were pulling out counters to their counters to their counters on a fucking TV match. This could have main evented a pay-per-view. It was that good.
No, absolutely. It was fantastic.
I love this. I blinked far too many times because I probably missed a few things. The Mets were also in the ninth. But it's just phenomenal main event here tonight. And I expected nothing less.
No, I mean, when this match got announced, we knew what match we were getting, and they delivered. It's always tough for us to cover these types of matches because it's like, well, this was awesome. This was awesome. This was awesome. This was awesome. I don't even know how to describe half of the stuff that these guys are doing.
Yeah, so I just did the end. I was like, I'm not writing all this shit down.
The top rope counter from the Hurricanrana that Will did, awesome. The counter that Fénix hit immediately after, awesome. These guys are just great. They delivered. I loved Will hitting the swerve stomp. It just looked like, I got your number, kid. That's what it felt like. And just great work from both Fénix and from Ospreay. And the after segment that hit was just beautiful. Like I said, I think this was the best part of the night. It had such a heavy feel to it. There was so much in terms of stakes here. Excellent work from both guys. And again, I like Swerve a lot. Will look damn good with those 2 titles on his shoulders. He just did. So I don't know. Man. I think no matter what, it's going to be a great match at the pay-per-view. And I think no matter who wins, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be happy.
Yeah, I think I'd be a little disappointed if Swerve lost. Not that Will won, if Swerve lost, because I think Swerve deserves more time with this title.
I agree on that too. But continue, please.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't say enough good things about this match. I really can't, so I'm just gonna stop. Just to focus on this end part here, because I agree with what you said. Yeah, Will look good with the titles, but I don't want Swerve to lose, and I really think that ends part with Swerve telling him, "You're lucky we're still friends." Swerve is still teetering on the edge of the guy he was when he was breaking into Nick Wayne's house and kicking the shit out of him, or breaking into Hangman's house. That guy is still there. Don't get it twisted. He's just more of a fighting champion now than he was before he got the title and turned face. So. You best step correct to borrow an old line.
Absolutely.
All right, hopping in the comments here. Hello to JL. It's good to see you, man. JL saying NXT kind of roasted the hell out of All Elite quote unquote wrestling. I have no idea what that means, mostly because there was some great fucking wrestling tonight on AEW. So putting wrestling in quotation marks, I think, is a ludicrous statement. And I didn't really catch NXT. I tried to watch some of the highlights, but Elon was being a dick, and most of them were on Twitter. I heard the show was good last night, though, so I'm not going to talk shit about it.
And as somebody who watched the pay-per-view on Sunday, and as somebody who's trying to keep up with it a little bit more, I think it's very telling that the most memorable parts of NXT right now are the TNA knockout and the 4 AEW stars that were on the screen at the same time on NXT last night.
Those I saw.
Yeah.
NXT hasn't been a bad product recently.
No. Shawn's cooking. Shawn Michaels is cooking.
Yep.
So let him keep cooking. JL saying he's glad that Private Party is getting screen time, but that Private Party is also the poor man's Street Profits, but are still cool. I think Private Party is funnier than the Street Profits, but I think the Street Profits are a better team than Private Party.
I think Street Profits are a little bit older than them, right?
Yes. They're well more.
Private Party's really young, so they've got time to to really figure it out. And obviously, they have their similarities, but I do think they are two very different teams.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. Is Puma coming to AEW? We talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yes.
Puma or Ricochet? Yes.
I highly doubt it's Prince Puma because the legalities and the copyrights with Lucha Underground, whether it's them or AAA, because there was a bit of stuff there with all that stuff, but they pretty much own all of that shit. So it's going to be hard for him to use the Prince Puma thing, but odds are he is going to show up. I did mention earlier in the show that PWI reported today Ricochet's contract does run through, I believe, about the middle of July. So it's going to be a minute if he does show up and leave. But it also gives time for him and WWE to negotiate if they do want to keep him and he does want to stay.
Yep.
Jay also asking, we're all in agreement, Will versus Swerve ends in a no contest or a DQ? No.
There's no way.
AEW so rarely does either of those things. And when they do, it is not for a title.
And not in the main event of a pay-per-view.
And not in the main event of a pay-per-view they're sharing with another company.
Yeah.
So I'm going to highly, highly doubt that. And last thing from Jay, the Learning Branch, yikes.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
It's a polarizing thing. We mentioned before, it's him taking everything that, all the people online are using to try to troll him, and he's using it to troll them back. And if you don't like it, either you're one of those trolls or you just think it's dumb, which is fair. I personally think he's kind of turned it around, and it's annoying, but it's funny to me how annoying it is, which is why I kind of like it. But as I mentioned, he's got to start evolving it a little bit more, because it's you can only be that grading for so long.
Yeah.
So, but back to Swerve and Ospreay and Fénix. Just, I think personally, this was by far the best part of the show. So,
likewise. And I like that Swerve started the show and ended the show.
Yeah, that's when your champ does that. You should probably do it a little more often, but I understand why they don't, to give other people some shine at the top and the bottom. But especially heading closer to the pay-per-view, he's got to do one or the other, or both.
Yeah.
But that actually leads us to the end of Dynamite. So, James, I think my overall thought on Dynamite was the main event was the best part of the show.
Likewise.
The rest of it, similar to last week, I didn't think anything was bad, but there wasn't anything, overly important or groundbreaking. We did some stuff to lead up into Forbidden Door, but I don't want to call this a skippable episode, but nothing overly important happened.
No, I agree. Again, we said it a little bit earlier, or I said it a little bit earlier. I do love Forbidden Door. I do appreciate what Forbidden Door is, as somebody who enjoys New Japan Pro Wrestling quite a bit, as somebody who loves wrestling crossover. I love that a pay-per-view like this exists. But it does tend to hurt AEW storytelling just a little bit, because all feuds sort of get put on hold. That's why, again, we keep saying the main event was the best part between Swerve and Ospreay. It's because it's an AEW storyline. It's a natural progression for these AEW characters. And I think it's working for some people. I think it's working a little bit with Mercedes because of how ingrained she was with New Japan. But overall, it's a lot of stories get put on the back burner or have to be told a certain way to allow the booking for Forbidden Door to happen. So I think things are going to really pick up again come July once we're past Forbidden Door.
Yeah, and it's not only that too, but a lot of the people who are going to be facing off against each other aren't even in the same country yet.
Yeah.
Let alone in the same building. So you're doing a lot of, match building through various video and promo packages, and, a promo where it's just the one person and the other person has to respond a week later. The only one that's really working for is in terms of the crossover is kind of Moxley. I know you mentioned Mercedes too, but Moxley, has the new, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. He's been in New Japan. He was, there for their most recent pay-per-view. Was it Dominion a couple days ago, right? When Naito called him out. Now, we didn't see that on AEW television. It was shown in the promo package, but that, at least from the other side of things, is helping build a storyline. And I'm sure Moxley is going to go the fuck off when he gets back in the country. So what makes it difficult, I think, is just that no one's there to build these feuds. The matches are going to be great, and I think we know that, but it lessens the stakes a lot. And then, like you said, it does put certain things on the back burner that we've wanted to see. And, you can almost compare this to around SummerSlam, when a lot of feuds just go out the window because it's red brand versus blue brand. And, everything just goes, no one cares anymore. At least they didn't for a long time there. I know it's a little bit differently, works a little bit differently with War Games now, but it was just, all right, we're going to put aside our petty differences just because I happen to be on Mondays instead of Tuesdays or Fridays or whatever the fuck SmackDown is running that year. So, and so many storylines got shoved aside for it. And I think you're right. I think you see a similar thing here where it's just, you can't build your own stuff while also simultaneously building to this other pay-per-view with people who aren't there. It makes things incredibly, incredibly difficult.
No, absolutely. But I think they're doing the best they can.
Yeah, and like I said, it doesn't lead to a bad show, because I thought a lot of this stuff was good, not just the main event, obviously, and the opening segment was good too. But I really liked the 6-man tag in the middle of the show with Orange and Briscoe and Fletcher and all those guys. I thought that was good. I liked the stuff, how they further the story with Mina Mariah and Toni Storm. It was short, but I mean, I'm also just going to enjoy anything those three women are in because they're very talented and they're also very talented.
Bonk.
And honestly, I know it was quick, but I like the Samoa Joe and Hook stuff just because we're seeing this relationship between the two of them and Shibata grow. So there is stuff happening on the show, and it is still good. But compared to the run up to, say, Double or Nothing, I think these last couple of weeks have fallen short of that. Granted, very difficult to live up to those shows, but due to all the circumstances we just talked about, I think that's what we're going to be getting at least up until the week before Forbidden Door, because everyone just shows up then.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, the first one, we didn't even know Okada was going to be in that 4-way until that Wednesday.
It was crazy.
So, and that's what happens. You just got to get people in the country, and then everyone shows up Wednesday, and then shit really hits the fan, and you go from there.
Yeah. It's
just how they run it. But all right, that is our show. So I would like to thank everybody so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. If you like what you saw tonight, we'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Liking the video lets us know that you're enjoying what we're doing here, show to show, and subscribing allows you to get all of our shows in your feed, whether it's here when we cover Dynamite every week, got the Gym Pack Zone for those of you who are TNA fans, every Thursday with James there. We try to cover either SmackDown or Raw, depending on how things go that given week, depending on A, who's around, and B, how the show is. Sometimes they're just not good. Also, SmackDown seems to be a black hole lately, man. It's weird. I hear nothing out of SmackDown.
It's either Bloodline or Cody AJ. There's nothing else really going on.
And I pretty much hear, as Danny has been calling it, Bloodline Wolf Pack. Come on, that's a great name. It's so good. I've been seeing more stuff with that and how everyone feels bad for Paul Heyman than I've seen anything with Cody and AJ, to the point where I low-key forgot he was feuding with AJ.
All right, no. The AJ false retirement was pretty good, where he wore the like the pastel jacket and everything.
The salmon jacket?
It wasn't salmon. He went with a bright blue. A little more his color. Yeah, it was a good bit.
I low-key missed that. I'll have to go back and watch it. But we do attempt to cover those WWE shows as well as pay-per-view. So we will be covering actually, you guys are probably going to be at Forbidden Door.
Most likely.
That is going to be the plan, I believe. So you'll probably be getting some stuff from the show then if you want to check out our social medias. If you're here on YouTube, you can check out the links below for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And you can check us out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So if you're on one of those or on one of our other social media platforms and you want to follow us on some other stuff, you can follow us on Twitter at marketdown_pod. Over on Instagram, we're just at marketdownpod. And on YouTube, it is youtube.com/marketdown3665. You follow us on social media stuff. You can check out anything we get from Forbidden Door live at the show. Hopefully, we do a live show after. We'll see what happens with people buying tickets and stuff. And if you follow us on social media, James, I believe we're still doing some giveaways as some incentives to check us out on all of our platforms.
Today is the last day to claim your spot for the Becky Lynch autographed autobiography. We will be we'll be deciding the winner tomorrow, probably announcing it tomorrow as well. And in honor of the TNA pay-per-view that's this Friday, we are going to be doing a giveaway. So keep your eyes ready for that. Eyes and ears open for that.
If I'm not mistaken, do we also have something for Forbidden Door coming up as well?
We do. It hasn't been announced yet, but we might as well just announce it now. We are going to be doing an autograph giveaway for Forbidden Door. It will be, what do you think it should be? We've got a few options here.
I think last week you put something in the chat, and I'm trying to remember if it was Naito or Tanahashi.
Tanahashi.
Yeah, that's what you put in the chat, so that's what we announced.
All right,
it's Tanahashi.
It is. We're doing a Tanahashi giveaway for Forbidden Door.
Okay, so yeah, be sure to check out our social media stuff. I know we'll try to figure this out. We can do posts on YouTube too, so if you subscribe to us here, you'll be able to see how to enter as well, or if we remember to do that. But yeah, be sure to check us out on all those platforms so that you can not only follow along, but be entered to win either the Becky Lynch autograph book, which I'm a little upset I'm not allowed to enter for, or the Tanahashi giveaway at Forbidden Door, or the TNA giveaway happening for that pay-per-view, which is coming up soon. So I think that covers all of our giveaways. That covers all of our socials. James, anything else before we got to get out of here?
I am tired, and I hope you guys have a great night.
That pretty much says it for me as well. So for James Ashanti and producer boy who jet earlier, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Market Down Podcast. Have a good night, everybody.